Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Nayeli de Jesus of CAPS Coalition. Melissa O'Connor of the New York State Retail Council. Superintendent Stephen G. James. District Attorney Melinda Katz. And now, please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I just came from a meeting that was so inspiring to me. A group of dedicated professionals who've been meeting together for, yes, today was their 600th daily meeting to talk about how we are dealing with the specter of gun violence. This was the Gun Violence Strategic Partnership brought together with federal, state, local resources and coming together at our state-funded crime analysis center here to really find out a way we can get our handle over the spike in violence and gun violence in particular. I wanted to talk to them about what we've already accomplished together thus far, and we'll talk about our new challenges. And we really have made a significant difference. When I took office 2 years ago, violence was spiking, particularly gun violence. Shootings were up, murders were up, and people really in our state felt unsafe. And there was this unease, this uncertainty, and I knew this had to change. I mean, I didn't need a memo to tell me that this was not going to be the status quo in the great state of New York any longer. So we took aggressive action, and what we did was we created the gun violence involved. We funded additional communities from $9 million to $35 million. I committed $347 million of state money, which we've continued every year, including this year, toward this. And I mentioned our crime analysis centers. We expanded them to be all throughout the state now, and we've processed more than 95,000 requests from local entities for us to use our data analytics and our professionals to help track the criminals, find them, and arrest them. And I just, again, this morning, this is our 11th crime analysis center, and we have over 43 state-funded positions right here. This is, when I talk about funding state police, I'm operationally them all over where I need them, and this is one of the places we needed them the most. So we did this. We also developed cross-county lines, partnerships with other local officials, as well as other states. For the first time in our state's history, our nation's history, I pulled together a consortium of all of our contiguous states to help us track the flow of illegal guns into our state, and it really made a difference. So we're making those changes. We also had to change the dynamic around bail. There were too many people that were committing these crimes that were being let out, so we had to change the standards back to what they had been, and I'm proud that we were able to achieve that finally last year. So look at what we've done. In the last couple of years, we've driven down gun violence by shootings by more than a third. I mean, this was the trend that was going upward. Now to be down by a third is extraordinary. In our jurisdictions where we give direct state funding, they're down 35% and down 38% in New York City. And again, kudos to NYPD and our partnership with them, and I want to thank them for all they do. Murders are way down. We also had New York has the fourth lowest firearm-related mortality rate in the nation. Murder rates much lower than other states. So I want people to remember these statistics, because the narrative that's out there is this is not the case. So facts will always drive where I come from, and I'm not saying we're spiking the football, despite a very interesting Super Bowl. I really didn't care who won. I digress. We're not done. We're not done. But what a difference. What a difference this investment, this energy, this focus has made. It's quite extraordinary. So as we come roaring back and making sure that people are physically safer, there's also something else that's going on out there. There's an unease when people start to see, or they go into a grocery store or a drugstore, and people are taking things off the shelves, and the toothpaste is locked up, and it's such a hassle to buy it again. And so people are saying, well, I'll just forget that. I'll just buy it online. And what that does to our city core when you start losing the businesses because people are just saying we can't do this any longer. That's what's been happening over the last couple of years. and really triggered by the pandemic once again. And what I've said, just like we did with gun violence, I know that we can employ the same strategies, bring the smart people together, forming coalitions, giving resources, changing the laws. We can do this, exactly what we did with gun violence, drive it down. We can do this when it comes to retail theft. And that is the commitment I've made to all the individuals who are here, and I want to thank them for joining me. We have our district attorney, Melinda Katz, who will be delivering remarks. I want to thank her for being on the front line of prosecutions and sending a message that you will not get away with this in her county, her borough of Queens, and I want to make sure that everyone else follows that. So I want to give her a round of applause for joining us here today. Also joined by our new superintendent, but not new to the state police, Stephen James has been a lifer with our state police. He knows all the capabilities, he knows all the potential, and how we are reshaping the state police, because my vision has always been the state police responsibility is to deal with any crisis, any problem throughout the entire state of New York. No task is too small, no task is too big. So we've gone from a force of people that were focused in specific areas, and I've expanded it dramatically. And under your leadership, we're going to do even more. So thank you for saying yes and joining our team as well, our Superintendent, Stephen James. Melissa O'Connor, New York State Retail Council, I want to thank her for just always reminding us in government that there are people out there, human beings who put their whole life's earnings and their vision into sometimes a small business, just like my mom did with her little flower shop. And it's everything they believe in. They miss all the holidays with families. They're out there working so hard. And you know what happens? When something like this happens, they feel like no one's supporting them. They're out there on their own. And you have been a strong voice. And Melissa, because of you and your effort and your members, believing in us to help solve this problem together, we're going to make a real difference. So let's give a round of applause to Melissa O'Connor. Nayeli de Jesus, the coalition, created a coalition of various shops and stores who are working together as well. I want to thank her for her support for all we're doing here. And it's that coalition on this side as well as with law enforcement, we're going to make a difference. So let's talk about how we're going to do this and what we're facing. From 2017 to 2023, larceny offenses rose by more than 50% here in the city. Other crimes going down, people starting to feel a little good until you go into a store. And to have retail crimes going up, larceny going up 50%, and outside the city, this is in the city, outside the city, rest of state, the numbers are about what they were during the pandemic. So there's been a dynamic here focused on New York City in particular. I'm not saying it doesn't exist elsewhere, I'm just saying we're not seeing the spike the way we have here in New York. So we're back to pre-pandemic levels outside of New York City. But if you've ever worked in retail in the city, and I want to recognize Stuart Applebaum for representing the retail workers here, and also Kathy Wild from the partnership who represents the larger entities. And together, they're on the front lines. Their members are on the front lines of this. The large businesses, the small businesses, and the stress on someone going to work every day, working in retail, it's off the charts. I've spoke to individuals. They should not have this level of anxiety to go into what at one time was a pretty safe job. You know, they're not firefighters, not police officers. This was always a pretty safe job, and it should always be. But now to not know whether someone coming in the door is going to do them harm or knock them over and sweep the shelves and you know, sometimes the shooting, sometimes the knifing, it's got to stop. We have to protect them. We have to protect these workers and send a message that there are consequences when you touch one of these individuals who's exposed, who's out there providing a service, for gosh sakes. And so that's what's top of mind for us as well. So to Kathy Wild and Stuart Applebaum, I want to thank both of you for championing this cause with us as well. And, you know, we see the neighborhood bodegas having to hire security guards. They don't have extra money for this. They don't have the money. They're barely making it. You know, the cost of every product has gone up. They can't, you know, deal with inflation on top of having to put in security cameras and everything else. And so to recognize this, my budget also includes money for security for stores. If you don't have the resources, you can get a tax credit, take it off your taxes. It's a shame we have to do this, but I'm not going to leave them hanging. I'm not going to say you're on your own. You know, we're going to solve this together, and that should be a deterrent as well and help law enforcement be able to apprehend those who are doing it. So Again, we're not talking about, a kid who makes a mistake one time. We're not criminalizing poverty here. We really are focused on what has become a sophisticated, organized retail operation. The smash and grab efforts. They go in and swipe everything off the shelves, and oftentimes they're loading into a stolen vehicle, compounding the crimes here. And so that's what our challenge has been. And they sell it online. And so there's the retailers, the online platforms also have a responsibility as well, and we're working with them and finding solutions to this as well. So, as I mentioned, how important retail is in our state. It's about 8% of our employment statewide. We have 370,000 jobs in retail here in the city of New York. I don't want those numbers to decline. I don't want people to say, I don't want to work in that job anymore. I don't want more shops to close down because people said, I'll just buy it online. It's safer. We don't want that dynamic at all, and we have to stop that. So it's also $45 billion in wages statewide, 70,000 retail businesses here in the great state of New York. These are the people we have to protect. They went through so much of this pandemic. They were shut down. They're barely hanging on as it is, and they come out of it thinking the sunny skies are back, the bright days are here, and all of a sudden there's this specter of crime at unprecedented levels. So we actually have made a decision here. I'm going to deploy what I saw in the next room. Those individuals have been laser focused on daily meetings and efforts to stop the spike in gun violence and say, I just challenge them to do this. I need you as our partners. You are the eyes and ears out there. You have the intelligence. You have the data. You can share that with law enforcement. Share it with our district attorneys. Help us solve this phenomenon with the same intensity that they brought to fighting gun violence, and we'll get the same results. I'm convinced of this. We will send that strong message. And again, I mentioned the bail laws have been changed. Repeat offenders can be held on bail. We have seen a dramatic decrease in repeat offenders, which is great. We're also prioritizing money. I said I'm putting money toward our state police, $25 million to have a specialized retail theft unit in the state police, $15 million for prosecutors and local law enforcement to go after them, $5 million for our efforts to help small businesses get security measures, as well as announcing that we're forming this joint task force, this joint operation of state and federal law enforcement, and also looking at legislation that makes it illegal to foster the sale of illegal goods. And as I said, and then we talked to the retail workers about this, increasing penalties for assault of retail workers. And I want to thank Senator Jessica Garcella-Spanton and Assemblymember Manny De Los Santos for sponsoring this legislation to protect our retail workers. Now, here's the story. We're coming after you. You're on notice. We've had enough. People deserve to be able to walk their streets, go to their shops, go in their stores safely, purchase their products, go back home without an incident. And our shop workers deserve to feel that they are protected once again and not say, I've had enough, I'm leaving. So that's our message. Federal, state, local, money, resources, analysis, data sharing, it's all starting right here and right now. I do need the support of the legislature to get some of our initiatives over the finish line. I'm going to call on everyone in this room to help us with that effort, to talk about what we need to do. And I know that we can make a difference. We just did. The proof is in the effort. It pays off. I'm proud of those statistics when it comes to shootings down, murders down, but I want to be able to stand here in the next year and say, yes, because of this intentional, concerted effort, creating partnerships, bringing money, people together, we also stop the scourge of retail theft in the city of New York, and I believe it can be done. So thank you very much. With that, I'd like to bring up District Attorney Melinda Katz.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your laser focus when it comes to crime, when it comes to gun violence, when it comes to the murder rate in the city of New York, and when it comes to retail theft and all of the issues that we are dealing with. So, as the governor said, the numbers are down for murder and shootings in New York City, 11% citywide. The numbers are down for murder, 39% in Queens County. The numbers are down 25% citywide for shootings, 37% in Queens County. But this is the real deal. As the governor stated, someone goes into a store. You go into Rite Aid, you want CVS, I don't want to start naming stores because that's how I get in trouble. You go to drugstores, you go in, you push a button because now the toothpaste is behind a counter. You push the buttons, it goes over the loudspeaker, the worker comes, they open it, they have to wait for them, they open the lock, they get you your product, then you got to go wait online to pay your bill. And you're standing there waiting online to pay your bill. Someone comes in with a knapsack, someone comes in with a duffel bag or a basket, comes in, clears the shelf off and walks out. You're still waiting to pay your bill. So I can tell you that crime is down, I can tell you that shootings are down, I can tell you that murders are down, but when you've just witnessed that in your local drugstore, crime is at 100%. And that's the problem. That doesn't give people a lot of confidence in our system. And that's what we're doing here today. That's why the governor has called us all together. And in Queens, a few years ago now, we created the Merchant Business Improvement Program in combination with the NYPD. And what does that do? The program works as follows. Interested businesses register, so retail stores will register with their local precincts through the precinct's neighborhood officers. They'll call up, they'll register their store, and then they are given what's called, when they come into a store, and if someone is bothering the workers, if someone was just arrested for petty larceny and then comes back again, the police department now will issue what's called a trespass affidavit in the borough of Queens County. This initiative is about sending a message to the individual who's harassing the employees, who has come back after being arrested for retail theft, or comes back after being arrested for robbery. That trespass affidavit is given to the individual on body cam by the NYPD. And it's different than being given a warning by the retail store. It's different than being given a warning by a security guard. Now you have a cop who's giving you a trespass affidavit, and what that trespass affidavit says is we are revoking your privilege to being in our store. We are revoking that privilege. And if you come back here, you'll be arrested. And that allows a few things. Number one, a mother should be able to go to a store with her child and not be bothered and harassed. A retail worker should be able to go home to their family at the end of the day without feeling humbled or humiliated because people are walking in and out of their stores. Should be able to go home without occurring any violence. This is a program that allows us to give people a second chance while still arresting for shoplifting, stealing, or robbery or assault in that store. So far in Queens County, 318 businesses have registered for the initiative. 329 people have been served with trespass affidavits. Out of those 329 individuals, only 22 people came to the same store. Only 22 people came back and were arrested because they violated the trespass affidavit. And that means 307 people got the message. And that's an important start for the state. And the governor mentioned that we are holding people now accountable on their second or third time. And that is true. The bail laws changed about a year ago. We thank the governor, we thank the legislature for changing those laws. Those are harm on harm laws. That means that it allows a prosecutor to recommend bail for offenses that are otherwise not bail eligible as a result of recent bail reforms because they are continuing, because they are recidivist, because they come back the second time after having an open case. Very important change in the laws last year. So thank you, Governor, for that. So I'm here today just to show support for our governor, for the work that she is doing in trying to tackle retail theft. I think these are great initiatives statewide. We need to make sure that we do more of it because the everyday crimes that people are witnessing in our stores, the everyday harassment or crimes that our retail workers are having upon them, it's not a way for us to move forward. It doesn't give confidence to our constituents, and we need to make sure that they know that we are on top of it. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Oh. I can handle retail theft, but apparently not introductions. So next, I would like to introduce our Superintendent, Stephen James, to deliver remarks.
Thank you, DA Katz. And thank you, Governor. I addressed our HIDA partners a short time ago. They're valued partners, years on end. We appreciate that. I think it's prudent for me just to reiterate my comments today. Just to give you some background, 2021 was the most violent year over the past 2 decades compared to the historical lows of 2019. Shootings were up 101% in New York City, 81% outside of New York City. In October 2021, one of the first actions that the governor had taken was to fund the New York State Police, or should I say the new New York State Police, GIU, which was a new reformulated unit, the Gun Investigative Unit. A few months after that, she launched the first in the nation interstate and intrastate gun trafficking task force. Since then, the governor has increased the New York State Police headcount by 650 people. Thank you, Governor. That amounts to 13% in personnel. The New York State Police has certainly responded for the governor's call for action. We've seized 175% more illegal guns in 2023 than prior to the pandemic, 2019. We have partnered with 25 jurisdictional statewide agencies where we have crime stabilization units, CSUs. We've supported countless investigations, and going forward, we certainly will continue that endeavor. The governor's now counting and continuing to demand action from us, the New York State Police. And realistically, she is counting. She is looking for the results. We've answered that call, so in turn, we'll continue to work with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners with regard to the joint operations. The joint operation is a facility and concept that's anchored at the NYSEC, the New York State Intelligence Center in Albany, New York. It currently leads the statewide efforts in reducing gun trafficking, gun crime, including interstate and intrastate gun task force. The NYSEC will make the intelligence on organized networks, we'll make that available, we'll share it on a statewide basis, and that's to all law enforcement agencies, partners, so that we can reap the same benefit. What I just want to say to you is the state police, we currently have the boots on the ground. We're thankful for the budget, and we will provide support to agencies with the resources that we have. As we fight the gun violence, the proof is in the results, as I indicated. As the new superintendent, I will measure and constantly assess the progress that we've made to ensure that the impact on the ground is what the governor is expected of our state police organization. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Melissa O'Connor, Retail.
Thank you, Governor Hochul, and Superintendent James and District Attorney Katz for convening this event to discuss an issue that has been presented significant, if not unprecedented, challenges to retailers in New York State for far too long. Our organization represents thousands of stores in every corner of the state, ranging from the smallest independent merchants to national and international brands. I can tell you that addressing organized retail crime and habitual retail theft is a top priority that requires immediate attention with our partners in state and local government. For context, retail establishments in New York lost $4.4 billion in revenue as a result of theft in 2022. The same study noted that the state of New York lost $176 million in retail sales tax dollars due to theft, revenue that certainly could have been appropriated to other state-funded programs and services. The financial loss to merchants investing in the state is stunning, of course, but this is not our primary focus when discussing the issue with leaders in New York. Our priority is the safeties of our consumers, employees, as 88% of retailers report that shoplifters are somewhat more or much more aggressive and violent compared with 1 year ago. The challenges presented by retail theft activity do not stop at the threshold of a retail store. Community safety is also an important consideration as we continue to examine the issue and meaningful solutions. Retailers have reported that theft and violence have resulted in a reduction of specific store operating hours, reduced product selections, and even closure of certain store locations. It is clear that the impact of retail theft and related crimes on local communities is real and significant. Over the past several months, our industry has hosted meetings with countless of stakeholders, many of whom are in the room today. The executive, mayors, district attorneys, state and local lawmakers, local chambers of commerce, business improvement districts, and law enforcement, just to name a few. It is abundantly clear, based on those conversations, that a thoughtful, comprehensive response is required in short order. I want to thank Governor Hochul for taking the time to listen to the concerns of the Retail Council and small business owners over the past several weeks. We strongly and actively support the specific initiatives outlined in the executive budget proposal, as we have prioritized many of these concepts for quite some time. We strongly support the governor's proposals, which include interagency coordination at the state and local level and related funding, which is absolutely critical to identify emerging trends and habitual offenders. Dedicated prosecutors in district attorneys' offices for cases involving retail theft, along with funding for implementation. The allocation of $25 million in new funding to deploy a dedicated state police team to build cases against organized retail theft rings and create a new state police enforcement unit dedicated to this process and purpose. It's important to note, too, that a similar approach was taken in California, which increased proactive organized retail crime investigations and operations by over 310%, recovering 187,000 items stolen from retailers directly. We also support the allocation of $5 million in state funding to build the capacity of local law enforcement efforts to combat retail theft. Finally, we strongly support legislation to increase penalties for the assault of retail workers, along with the creation of a commercial security tax credit for small businesses. This comprehensive approach is necessary to address the challenges facing stores that invest in New York communities and the employees who witness retail crimes far too often. In my conversations with state lawmakers who represent myriad parts of the state, from Buffalo to the Bronx, they have acknowledged legislative action must happen in 2024. On behalf of retailers located in every district throughout New York, we respectfully urge leaders in both houses to include and support the governor's retail theft prevention plan in their One House budget proposals in March. Thank you.
That's okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for the opportunity to be part of this press conference today, discussing the incredibly important issue of retail theft, and we greatly appreciate your ongoing commitment to supporting retail store owners. My name is Nayeli De Jesus. I am an independent supermarket owner in the Bronx, as well as an executive member of the National Supermarket Association. The NSA is the founding member of the Collective Action to Protect Our Stores Coalition, better known as CAPS. And we are a statewide campaign with members representing independently owned supermarkets, bodegas, local mom and pop retail stores, and several businesses, improvement districts, and chambers of commerce across New York City's 5 boroughs and the state. We are joined together by our shared fight against organized retail theft and its impact on our stores, our employees, and our communities. We thank Governor Hochul for prioritizing this issue with a well-thought-out 8-point plan, as well as Assemblymember Manny de los Santos and Senator Jessica Scarcella-Spantone for their ongoing support in Albany, pushing the CAPS agenda and advocating for our coalition members amongst their colleagues in the State Assembly and the Senate. Stores across New York State lost an estimated of $4.4 billion in revenue due to retail theft last year, and violence in these incidents has dramatically escalated. Since 2017, retail theft robberies, which escalated to violence or the threat of violence, have increased 125%. Additionally, these incidents are happening more and more frequently by the same individuals, with 30% of New York City retail thefts perpetrated by the same 386 offenders. In 2021, my family's stores saw this heightened retail theft firsthand. A shoplifter went to our location. We escorted him out of the store 4 times. The 5th time we asked him to leave the store, he threatened to come back with a gun. We sort of brushed it off. We didn't think that was possible. 5 minutes later, he showed up to our store with a rifle in a plastic bag, in a clear plastic bag, looking for the store manager, in this case my brother, because we're a family-operated store. And he started waving the gun To my employees, to the staff, to my manager, thankfully, my brother was able to escape towards the end of the store with about 15 to 20 customers, and they locked themselves in a room, and the gunman left the store. This time, we just got lucky. This is an entirely untenable situation for our stores and the community. And this is why we are happy to support the governor's plan, which puts policies in place to target repeat and violent offenders, while also offering financial support through tax credits to small businesses, as well as dedicated resources to our state police and district attorneys. We believe these policies will make a profound difference in dealing with retail theft issues at our stores, and most importantly, protect our employees and our community members. We appreciate the governor listening to our coalition members who are battling this issue every single day. We hope the legislature will support our governor's plan and the bills in the front of the legislature addressing the issues we see each day in our stores. It is essential that we protect our small businesses, our supermarkets, and everyday New Yorkers, while also providing our law enforcement agencies with the tools and resources necessary to do their job. Again, thank you, Governor Hochul and our Albany supporters, for your continued efforts to tackle retail theft, particularly repeat and violent retail theft. We look forward to continuing our work with the governor's office and the state legislature to see this plan over the finish line, which will better protect our employees, community members, and our stores. Thank you all for coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's program.